This right here is my 1991 Toyota Land Cruiser FJ80, and it's probably the coolest old school retro SUV that you could buy for the money. All right, so I made it to the top of, or near the top of Shaw Mountain Road. It goes up a little bit higher that way, which we might make it to there, but what I want to show you is the view you get when you have a Land Cruiser and you can go places nobody else is able to go. Now that the smoke is gone, you can actually get out into the mountains again and breathe the fresh air and have a little bit of fun. When I saw this on Facebook Marketplace, I was basically speechless when I saw the price. The seller listed this for only $4,500. I actually ended up scoring this, I talked him down $200, so I got this for $4,300. And for a running, driving, rust-free Land Cruiser 80 series, that is definitely the cheapest that I have found in the country. So today, I'm gonna show you all the cool things about it, what I like and what I dislike. We'll also take it for a drive after we do a little walkthrough of this. Make sure you smash the crap out of that like button, subscribe, and here's the tour. All right, so here we are, my 1991 Toyota Land Cruiser in all its retro glory. Now, let's start with this really beautiful front end. Side marker lights in orange clearly say, I'm JDM and ready to party. The large headlight clearly says, I look like I'm gonna illuminate the entire world, but clearly I illuminate almost nothing. What I really love is this really nice, clean grille across the front, the trim going around the headlights down here at the bottom. So modern grills have gotten massive on vehicles and it's like unnecessary and just ridiculous. I just love how small and clean everything is on the front end, and down here at the bumper, solid metal, nothing to be messed around with. Now behind me in the windshield, right there is a Fear This sticker. So I think for the first mod, let's rip that off. All right, here we go. First mod, taking the Fear This sticker off. Luckily it's not a sticker, it's just like a double adhesive. But apparently some of it's sticking on there, but I've got some stuff at home. But let's go ahead and keep moving this bad boy off of there, because you don't have to fear this anymore. Moving along to the side here, it has this really interesting pinstriping. It looks like the original owner told me that where it looks a little gray here, that it was actually blue at one point. And I'm guessing this was like a really dark red. So it was a red and blue pinstriping, kind of like a wave going across the side. And then as we look a little further down, there's this chromy looking cheap piece that's just kind of flapping on there. I'm sure it was cool when it was first put on here. And I'm sure this pinstriping looked really good. And at first I thought I was gonna really hate it, but I think it's kind of cool. It keeps the retro 90s vibe, but it's clearly faded and we want to clean up the paint down the road. So this is going to be coming off in a video soon. Moving on down to the wheels. These are 15-inch. I don't know what brand they are or anything, but they're definitely peak 90s with some 31s on it. I just don't think they match the Land Cruiser very well. I feel like if you put it on like an old pickup truck or something, that might work. But I mean, they're okay, but the factory ones actually look a little bit more interesting. We're still on the side because there's just so much going on the side of this Land Cruiser. And I'm talking about these really crazy side steps. These are very popular back in the 90s on trucks and SUVs, made by a company called DZ. I don't know if they're still around. I'm sure they are. But these are actually, they're useful, but, you know, they fit the 90s vibe. But anyways, that's the side steps. So let's move on a little bit quicker as we go around this, because I think I hit most of the points on the side and the front and everything. The rear end of this thing is very, very interesting. Let's take a closer look. The pinstriping continues around to the back, but not only does the pinstriping continue, for some reason there's this little water bubble looking thing here. So that's kind of strange. I don't really understand what that means. This Land Cruiser also apparently has a tramp stamp. And the frustrating thing about it is I thought it was just a sticker, but it feels like it's actually etched into the paint. So we'll address this in another video. I do like the little bit of fadedness in the Toyota keyhole area. As you can see, it's kind of cool that it slides down and you can put your key in there to unlock it. This is kind of neat, and I actually think even if I get this repainted, I'm going to keep the faded look and not refinish that. I don't really know what they call this, a rear deck lid spoiler or whatever. Some people leave them on, but honestly, I don't think I'm going to leave that on there. Now, one of the coolest features on the back of this Land Cruiser is the lift gate. Top comes up, bottom goes down, and voila, you've got a seat. Now, one problem. It's old, so these don't work. That's why I got a stick. Holds it up. I can sit down and be perfectly comfortable. Okay, so now we're moving on to the engine. Now, there's really not much to look at here, and we're not going to spend a ton of time in this area. This has the less desirable kind of 155 horsepower 3FE engine. If I'm wrong, blast me in the comments. I don't remember at this time. But it's just really weak. It's kind of slow. This engine is not going to stay here forever. More on that to come. So keep hanging on to the end of this video because we're going to talk about what we're going to do. And as you can also tell, I have my trusty stick for the hood as well because the shocks on it are also not holding it up. All right, now moving on to the interior. Nothing really in here is very surprising or anything. It's actually in decent shape. It's not horrible. Let's take a look. It's actually in pretty decent shape. There's just a few small things that normally kind of have wear and tear, and the back seats are actually in really great shape. As you can see, it's pretty decent inside. There's nothing really too big of a damage in here. It's really clean. It's just a little bit dirty. The sunroof works and is open, as you can see here. And moving into the back, it's just really, really clean. The back seats were clearly not used as often, and they're a great start for this thing. Let's go for a drive and see how it rides. So far so good. Like, it's not overheating. I was even sitting there idle for a while. There's a bunch of rattles in the dash. Let me get around this corner here real quick, and then I'll show you why it's rattling. So there's an aftermarket. Everything here is mostly stock, except the wheels and tires that they put on here. I think the stripes and stuff on the side were put on here by the dealer. They look like they've been here forever. And as a previous owner, which I'm now only the third owner of this vehicle, said that everything was on it basically when he got it. So there's an aftermarket like JVC stereo. I can tell they try to do some stuff here. The dash rattles like crazy. So there's some screws missing, and the pocket just kind of falls out. So that's making a lot of the noise. This road's pretty bumpy, pretty washboardy. The tires on here, it pulls to the right a little bit actually. Pretty bad, so I need to look up on the forums what kind of causes that pulling, and I plan on doing suspension and stuff anyways, so all that will eventually get sorted. But for now, all the temps are fine. Look at this, look at that. Just a few rattles here in the dash where like the electronic controls are. My driver's seat actually moves back and forth a bit, so I need to check out what that is. But other than that, it's a pretty solid rig, man. For $4,300, I don't really think there's anything that can beat this, to be honest. It's a little slow going. The engine's kind of a turd, but I plan on just keeping this for a long, long time, and over the years just slowly doing things to it, and you can watch the build progress as I go. So I'd like to figure out what kind of V8 swaps I can do in this thing, how much it costs, whether it makes sense to do it myself or for an extra few $1,000. send it off to a local shop here. All right, so I finally made it onto the pavement again. So we're gonna take a little bit of drive heading back to the house, and I'll show you my plans for the Toyota. So let's see how it handles on the good old streets. Probably rides like a cloud. And then we'll be at the house. Let's go. So we're finally just cruising on this nice twisty road, heading back to the house. And you know, my tires are underinflated and the suspension is definitely old. However, during these corners, leans a little bit, but not as much as I thought or expected it to. And it just kind of turns in really ever so nicely. As you see, I'm barely inputting any steering input, which is totally, I mean, surprising for as old as this thing is. It's just a really, really nice ride. Way more comfortable than I expected. Handles the bumps and dips and curves really, really well. And, you know, we'll see, we got this dip right here. Look how smooth that was. I mean, wow. Good job, Toyota. You really nailed it. Calgrate wasn't bad at all either. So Toyota really, I'd say, did well with this vehicle. And I can see why people say this thing can last for like 1 million miles, and at 215,000 miles, and people tell me, they're like, oh, that's barely broken in. I can see why. Well, there you have it. The cheapest running, driving 80 series Land Cruiser in the country. And if you made it this far, you must be crazy or a Land Cruiser nerd. So, what are we doing to this thing? Well, if you like Land Cruisers and you want to see a complete restoration, like a mild, budget-friendly restoration on this Land Cruiser, then make sure you subscribe and follow me and turn on that notification bell, because in the next video, we're going to be cleaning this whole thing up. We're going to be removing all these vinyl graphics, these chrome pieces on the side. These side steps are going to be gone. We're going to buy different wheels and tires. We're going to lift it about 2.5 inches. Nothing crazy. This is going to be mostly kind of daily driver stuff. And then just going to take care of all the stuff that needs to be finished and refined on this thing. So stay with me. Stay subscribed for more videos. And follow the build on this and so much more.